Hello, Charlie TTG here. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to talk about Expanded and my favorite deck to play right now in this format, Roy Moon with Garbotoxin Garbodor. So in today's video, I'm going to break down exactly why is this a really good deck to play right now in Expanded, the fun combos you can do with one, the deck list, kind of exactly why is this a really good threat, what can it actually shut down, but also looking at the future of this deck. Is this going to be a really fun deck and a good introduction to the Expanded format? So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I want to say thank you so much for supporting my channel this past 2 weeks. It truly has absolutely blown me out of the way. What better place to celebrate by looking at this fun expanded archetype? So why am I thinking about these two as a really good partner? Well, I watched a video about them and kind of looked at a few lists about a couple months ago and been really tinkering the list, and it's so fun. So Roar Moon EX, as we know, has one of the best attacks right now in the game, both in standard and expanded. It's the one-hit KO the opponent's active Pokemon no matter what. But there is a caveat, you do 200 damage to yourself. What if I tell you there's a card in Expanded which actually nullifies that entire damage? Protective Cube. If it's attached to Roy Moon, it actually protects itself from doing any damage to itself. So all of a sudden, you can now do Frenzy Gouging for no repercussions whatsoever, and just instantly one-hit KO the opponent and taking no damage to yourself. That is incredibly strong, which is really easy to search out through with the likes of Town Store. But why am I thinking of partnering up with Garbodor? Well, Garbodor has the amazing ability, Garbotoxin. If it has a tool card attached to this one, for example, Floatstone, keeping it free retreat, each player in hand, discard pile, no matter what, have no abilities. This is incredibly strong. But this is always going to be out on turn 2, and by that time, Lugia and Palkia and some decks play the likes of Wally, so they can actually bypass most of these rules and use the abilities much quicker and very early on in the game. This is when Boost Shake kind of comes into handy. You get to search your deck for Pokemon that evolves from one of your Pokemon in play, and then put it into that Pokemon, but your turn does end. And you can do this during your first turn or the Pokemon that's put into play. This is really powerful. So effectively, if you're going first, you could pretty much have a Roy Moon set up with at least 1 or 2 energies attached to this one, and then end it with a Boost Shake with a get Garbodor out there with a Floatstone attached to this one. So effectively, having a Pokemon set up ready to attack next turn, plus having a opponent have no abilities, it's going to shut off so many archetypes. And obviously, Professor Sarda's Fatality to actually energy accelerate to Roy Moon, and this deck doesn't really rely on abilities whatsoever. So it's a really fun combo style deck. Your idea is you want to draw through your deck as quickly as possible on your first or second turn, quite set up this Garbodor out with that amazing Boost Shake item card. So actually now let's look at the deck list. And you can see here, a lot of these cards are actually in standard right now, so it's really easy and accessible to pick up. This does play 4 copies of Roy Moon EX. It is the best attacker and the only attacker you have in this game, and I think it's one of the best things. You don't want to prize any of them, and it's really good to have a consistency. We play a 2-3 line of Garbodor. So you're also thinking about, why am I playing more Garbodors than Trubbish? Well, if this goes with Boost Shake, you want to have more outs of Garbodor in your deck, because effectively you might be drawing into it a lot more earlier. Some things could be prized. So you want to have a guarantee it's always going to be in the deck to work out with Boost Shake. Also, if this Trubbish isn't too bad, you're going to put Carver and Discard Pile on top of your deck. So if the worst case scenario, it's a decent attacker overall. And rounding out the Pokemon, where you play 2 copies of Crobat and Squawkabilly, we're only really playing these ones purely on the faces. You want to draw through your deck quite quickly on your first turn, trying to set up this amazing lock of Garbodor. Now, our A-Spec is actually Unfair Stamp. Now, you might go, but Charlie, there's Dowsing Machine, there's Computer Search, there's so many other really good searching cards. Why have you gone with Unfair Stamp? Well, effectively, say the opponent on their first or second turn gets his big one-hit KOs if they're going second, and it could be really devastating for you to actually kind of come back with this one. But thinking of having ability locks set up, as well as also chucking in an Unfair Stamp, your opponent has a limited hand size. They only really rely on likes of Iono or Ents or potentially any of these other draw sort of factors, really limiting to the mat is incredibly strong. So that's exactly why I kind of go this one. Having that Garbodor set up turn 1 slows down all the Crobats, all the Squawkabillies, the Dedenes, all the other really good, powerful setup and draw Pokemon. It also, if they're stopped, it makes it very difficult, and that's why Unfair Stamp becomes incredibly strong. Item cards will play 1 copy of Battle Compressor, along with 1 copy of Dark Patch. These work incredibly well. The Battle Compressor gets rid of some really good key cards, like Professor Sada, like some Darkness Energies, and you can use them again for likes of VS Seeker and Dark Patch. Arguably, I would like to have a few more Dark Patches in this deck, but honestly, it's all about the space, and having 1 copy of this one really helps you kind of like bring out Roy Moon as quickly as possible. 2 copies of Trainer Spell. This allows you to look at the top 4 cards of your deck and put any trainer card except Trainer Spell into your hand. This means you can get out your Boost Shake or Protective Cube, your Town Store, any of your supporters, so it's incredibly strong to really help draw for your deck very quickly. 2 copies of Boost Shake, like I mentioned before, it's very powerful. You want to power up your Garbodor, you want to get it out as quickly as possible, and that's why I think Boost Shake is really strong, only having 2 of this one. You can't go down to 1, you can't go up to 3, because then it will become a much more of a dead sort of card in the late game. Then we placed quite a few really good energy search, 1 copy of Earthen Vessel and 3 copies of Professor's Letter. Earthen Vessel lets you discard a card from your hand and search your deck for 2 basic energy cards, whereas Professor's Letter just instantly search your deck for 2 basic energies. Now you might go, Charlie, why on earth are you not playing like 4 copies of Earthen Vessel or even 4 copies of Professor's Letter? Well, there is a certain reason between this. Earthen Vessel gets a guaranteed discard effector. Feels like Professor Stardust, gets rid of some of those useless cards you might not really need hand early on, like Garbodor, potentially a Bouchek if you already guarantee you've got one, or even like a supporter which can reutilize them with like VS Seeker. And also Professor that you guarantee you get the searching factor, which I much prefer in this way. You don't really want to have a lot, you already have quite a lot of discarding factor, so having a way to like guarantee you get some energies is much stronger. They also play for Ultra Ball, for Quick Ball, and for VS Seeker. These are pretty much a guaranteed staple in most of these decks. Now, theoretically, we could be playing 4 Nest Balls, but because we played 2 copies of Crobat, we don't want to guarantee, and we don't want to actually like put him on the bench and not utilize its amazing dark asset ability. So that's why I've got an option to play 4 copies of Quick Ball. So it's also gain some discarding effect of getting those darkness energies in the discard pile to fuel the likes of Sada. Then our supporters, we play 1 copy of Guzma, 1 Iono, and 4 copies of Professor Sada Fatality. These are an absolute staple, I feel like, right now. I think Iono is really good because that's really good disruptive factor. Unlike with N, you get shuffled into the deck, so potentially your opponent could draw into some really powerful cards. Iono shuffles them and puts them into the bottom of their deck, really limiting them from actually getting any of their really good resources in their hand. Guzma is basically Prime Catcher, and this also works incredibly well if you can guarantee per Pokemon because you're playing quite a few Float Stones, so you can actually promote likes of Garbodor for switching now, attach some Pokemon and potentially utilize Dark Patch. So that's exactly why I think Guzma is really strong. And for Professor Sada Fatality, so you can want to streamline all your attackers. Now we do play 4 copies of Town Store, and I believe it's really the only time you're actually going to be playing 4 copies of Town Store. This is really good. This gets all of your tool cards, it gets your Forest Hill Stone to get any card from the deck, Protective Q to protect your Roy Moon, and Float Stone to have that free retreat access to your Garbodor. That's basically exactly why I'm playing these cards, and if rounding up with 4 copies, 8 energies of darkness. This is an incredibly fun sort of expanded deck, and as you can see here, lots of them are standard right now or very easy to get hold of. But now I want to talk about why on earth am I thinking about this deck is going to be really good in the expanded format. Well, if we look at the huge threats right now, it slows down the likes of Lugia, Mew VMAX, shuts off the item lock from Vileplume, the Palkia for the Star Portal, and also Alolan Raichu from using that Electrode EX, GX sort of ability. So this is incredibly strong. These are some of the top decks right now in Expanded. Heck, you also shut down the likes of Regidrago's Legacy Star ability, which is incredibly powerful. Think about how many top decks really try to focus this one, or generally some archetypes that really need that setup style effect, or even on their first in the game. If you get to go first, you get to limit them from having access to their Crobats, having access to any of their really good draw support, like Tapu Lele, Luminium. This is incredibly powerful. Think of the likes of Vileplume. Vileplume deck really thrives because it has that item lock. And right now, remember, they errated that tool cards are no longer items. They are on its own separate thing. So you can still attach your tool card to your Garbodor and actually still slow them down completely. Now, I generally think this is a really interesting style deck. It shuts out all of these sort of key sort of threats right now. So think about it, shutting down the likes of Lugia, so they can't get their Wallies out. They can't really do this one. They have to really use like a Hex Maniac to use ability. By then, they've already shut down all abilities anyway. And trying to find like the likes of their Fill Blow or Lost Vacuum to really slow down the deck. I think it's a really good spot because it shuts down all of these really strong archetypes. So exactly, why is it so good? Well, one of the reasons is it is so cheap to build right now. If I look around the card market, it's about $80, which is really strong. Some of the most expensive cards are obviously you kind of would expect, the likes of Garbodor, as well as also Versaseeker, Guzma, and the likes of Floatstone. You can get some of them for quite cheap, around about $5 per piece. I was very fortunate having quite a lot of these cards already because I've competed in this sort of era, so it's definitely something which can be easy to pick up. Also, it's great to shutting out all of these huge setup Pokemon. Like I mentioned before, imagine like you're going against a deck you're really scared about that. Your opponent flips over Roy Moon, you're like, oh, it's not too bad, but all of a sudden they get this big wombo combo, chucking out their Garbodor, and then you're like, I just have like Tapu Lele, I have my Crobats, I've got my Squawk abilities, I've just got to draw from my deck to try and get the card. All of a sudden, now I can't do this one. That becomes incredibly devastating. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's so good. Like I mentioned before, Roy Moon has one of the best attacks right now in the game. Having an instant one-hit KO on the opponent's action spot with no repercussions with a protection cube, that absolutely makes it one of the strongest attackers right now in the game. You can obviously streamline attackers much quickly on, with likes of Sada. Yes, you are going a little bit slower by only playing 1 copy of Dark Patch, so you can only really theoretically power up Roy Moon from bench to like power up once. But having at least 2 energy attachments to Roy Moons per turn is still really strong. I think that's why I mentioned you can stream attackers really quickly. And it's incredibly fun to play around. When I first played around about a couple months ago, I started going against playing with my local, now plays a little bit more expanded. Some of the opponents like flipped over and went, what is this deck? And then they saw this and went, you have a very like cheesy style, like salt level deck. And it's incredibly fun. But there are some threats to Roy Moon. Number one is it could be very weak if you can't get out your Garbodor on your first turn of the game, and it can go into your second turn, which can be really devastating. And all of a sudden, the opponent can utilize all their abilities. All of a sudden, you're not shut down by the likes of Palkia, you've not shut down by the likes of Serena, or even the likes of Lugia, as they can already start and use their really strong abilities on their first or second turn, and all of a sudden, it's really hard to keep up with it. Decks that also don't rely on abilities. Yes, we've seen likes of Regidrago. They don't run abilities at all, but they really focus on having that legacy start, getting that discard effector on, and then flood the board with loads of energies that way, which can be really devastating. Mist Energy isn't really around that much in the expander format. Yes, you could really put it in the likes of Lugia, but that can obviously really be devastating as that shuts off the likes of Frenzy Gouging. You could also like maybe add a Zerosic or even an Enhanced Hammer, trying to remove that special energy, which could see some sort of play. And again, if you miss the attack turn too, this deck really does slow down a lot. If you're unfortunately drawing pretty poorly and not really getting the setup, this deck can absolutely fall apart. But in my sort of testing thing, that only happens about 5% of the games. Like, it's very, very easy to get this one. And sometimes if your opponent has a slow start, you're actually always going to overtake it. So that's exactly why I think this deck is incredibly strong and really, really fun. And I really hope you guys have enjoyed this one. I'm a really big fan of expander format, and this one here I think is not like you're spending a ton of money on this one. You already have quite a lot of these cards already in the standard format, and the rest of the cards you might have to pick up aren't exactly going to be as expensive. I just think it's really fun. It's getting one hit KOs, having ability lock, and just, yeah, having a ton of fun. So that's exactly wrapping up this video here. It's a great expanded deck to play and a really good entry point in the format, because you're still playing some more current sort of decks, and as well as also having a really good sort of combo sort of style effect by having that ability set up. As well, also, it's a really, really fun deck to play. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please remember to like and subscribe and comment down below. Would you want more expanded content on the channel, or are you really happy with seeing the rate of the standard format? I'll be back in a couple of days' time showcasing some of the shorts on my favorites of decks in the Searching Sparks format. There's also my top archetypes in next week. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below, what do you think of this archetype and what do you think of the state of expanded? See you guys later. Bye for now.